depending where I was working at the time, like I was extremely depressed, like extremely depressed. And it made my home life like just horrible. I was never checked in. I was never like present. It's like when I'm thinking about like the branding of this business, it's like, what do I want this to like come off of? Like, how do I grow this in a way that I really want to be? And it's like, I decided like, I want it to be fun. Like, I don't want the logo to be like, some initials, like, and generic that just kind of blends in with everybody else. I wanted to like, all right, if everyone's doing this, like what's the most extreme opposite of that? And that is a quirky, fun sun that has nothing to do with striping whatsoever, but I didn't care. That's what I knew. I wanted a mascot that kind of went with the radiant striping name. Everyone, and happy Halloween. At least that's when this is recorded. But today I wanted to talk about a shift in how I've been thinking about running this podcast. I had a discussion recently about whether we're going to keep doing like the interview style and whether that's going to be consistent, or we kind of do a whole pivot and it's just me talking about my experience and my journey growing Radiant Striping from the ground up, and just talk about my day to day as I go. And so I'll be curious of if this episode resonates with anybody, but we're leaning towards me. Well, there's no we, it's me, which is kind of the point. So here we are. We're just again doing the thing, getting a little messy, and you either gonna join me on this journey or you're on for a ride, because I have no idea what this is gonna look like or what, but I guess it's gonna be whatever the day to day looks like. And I guess from there, I'm going to go towards really what's been going on. So lately, I don't want to pretend, like we are just crushing it and having projects like 7 days a week where we're just doing this. I know some people who might be listening have thought about starting their own business, and it's easy to get caught up in the idea of just constant work and just being busy and always having these projects ahead of you, when from my experience so far is that that's not always the case. I'm actually learning what a slow season looks like, because this is only my second year of really being in doing this. But and then that's what's in my first year was kind of slow too, because I was just getting started. I didn't, when you work for another company, it's very interesting, because I came from working for another paving company before I started Radiant Striping. And I've learned real fast, just because I was doing the estimates and the project planning for that company. And, they were getting work and the schedule was always filled. And when I was working for another paving company before that, they would have weeks to months at times, the schedule completely filled out with multiple crews. But starting your own business is very different, even if you have a little experience. The only thing I would say I had a help is just knowing who I need to contact, the type of people I need to contact to start trying to garner, get business going. But that just because I know how to like do an estimate or for, parking lot project, it's very different when you have to now get people to come to your business who don't know who you are, and get people really interested in wanting to, let alone find you and then to ask you for a quote. And so that's been like the first year's big learning experience, and still to this year's too, because like I said, to pretend like the schedule is just in the completely booked and the schedule is completely filled out, that's really just not the case. And that doesn't mean though that people who are doing this, who at the same time frame as me, is not experiencing that. It's definitely possible, but to sell this dream of how busy you can be, I think it's so dependent on your area, what you're doing in terms of like, are you doing a lot of outreach to garner business? Where I have to be upfront and say, no, I don't do a lot of outreach for my work. At the time, right now, I rely extremely heavily on Google and people call me, and then word of mouth. in terms of cold calling. I haven't done much of that outside of my first job that I did. And so right now it's just this transition because I'm in a tricky spot because right now it's just me with my daughters at the, here because their mom's in law school and she's gone 5 days a week. And thankfully I have, grandma's help, Nana's help to kind of get this, help going. And it's just so different now because I'm in this transition of, do I get myself more busy and then have to hire help, or like, because right now I do a lot of the parking lot striping when they are in school, in the morning times, or I'm doing it on the weekends. So like most weekends for the last couple months, I'm like gone Saturday, Sunday, most of the time. I'm lucky if I am not, but then I'm not lucky because I try to, whenever I have work, I try to push to have it all done on a weekend, because right now nighttime work, not really an option during the weekday because it's just me with my daughters. And then for right now, that's okay because, another pivot I will say to all of this is that I love having this freedom, right? Being able to at least make enough to keep the bills going and to be able to support the life around me that's happening, with my daughters, my oldest daughter's in competitive gymnastics, and I get to be involved in that. I get to be here when they're coming home from school most of the time if I'm not working during the week. And, grandma's coming, Nana's coming to help with that. So it's been quite a journey, and I will say it's such a blessing, right? So yeah, the schedule's not filled up, but then again, on the flip side of that is I get to have more family time in a different way. And then I got to learn how to be better at time management because I only have so many hours before they're out of school. And what can I do while I'm at my daughter's gymnastics? Because she's there for like 3 hours. So that's a thing there too. So there's a lot of like balance. It's like I've got so many plates juggling right now, and I'm just trying to figure it all out. And on top of that, make content for Facebook and TikTok and LinkedIn and all, YouTube and all these social media platforms. It's like, where's the time? Where do I do the site visits? Where do I do the striping itself? When do I send out the quotes? When do I have to keep track of the invoices, keep track of what's happening, because I still do get requests coming in. And then it's like, what do I need to do to close these quotes, some of these quotes? Do I need to do, what kind of follow up do we need to do to keep kind of, again, keep the schedule kind of moving forward a little bit and to still have work coming in. And it's just a massive juggling act. Right. And that's my life. That's the journey of right now where Mario is building Radiant Striping. And it's a beautiful, stressful journey. I guess I wouldn't say like it is stressful, but doesn't feel that stressful because like I think the freedom I have to just say no to certain things, and just to like have enough, coming in work wise to, like I said, that brings in enough money to cover my overhead costs, which thankfully is not very much right now. And then also to be able to pay myself a little bit to kind of keep, bills paid, and then also to pay for gymnastics and enjoy family dinners. Like that is probably the one thing we kind of love doing is we love going to dinners and having, family dinner. It's also convenient too, with the way the kids' schedule is for everything. And right now, like I said, it's just this phase of, do I increase work, and then how do I get busy enough if I do increase work to then find a helper to help me? Because like I've been doing this by myself this whole time. Like I taught myself how to start the business, like Googling how to start a LLC here in Florida. What do I need? What do, finding out insurance, like, that's the thing, your general liability insurance, like who do I go through for that? Setting up a separate bank account. So then going to different banks to figure out what benefits are for a small business owner like myself. So far what I found, what I use is a credit union. I think they have like better rates, and they're just, at least, I'm just by the credit union I go to. The people are just friendly. Period. I mean that's partially why I go to them. They've been extremely helpful through this whole process. So having that set up, then you got to figure out, workers' comp. That's a thing that you have to have. Uh, Although in Florida, if you're a solo owner operator, you can technically file for an exemption because you're the owner and it's just you. So you can do that route if you want, or pay for workers' comp just to have that just in case. So many things to figure out when you're thinking about starting this business that not a lot of people talk about. And it's just like, when depending on the type of content you're digesting too, or where you're getting information, it's just like there's so many things that have to happen for this stuff to happen if you want it to happen in the right way. And it is honestly a fun journey. Like it is, for me, the art form of how do I start this business, and then how do I grow it? What does it mean to, like I said, get new clients where before you're used to people just calling you, but that's because you're an established company. Getting your name out there. Another fun thing that I've had with this is the freedom of like branding. What do I want to call it? How do I want people to experience it? What do I want to put out there? For me, like when I was coming up with the branding of Radiant Striping, it was, I wanted it to be fun. Like I want this to be a fun experience. Like so many construction companies are too serious. Like it's all like insert last name, construction services or asphalt services or this and that, or insert their name or whatever. But that didn't feel like, if I were to grow this and I have a team, that the team's going to be really bought into like what the vision is. And like the vision for me is I want this to be like fun. Like at the end of the day, we have to work to, support ourselves. Like to me, that's a fact, right? And it's like, how am I going to do that though? And does it have to like completely suck? Because I'm sure a lot of us have worked, because I know I have in the past, of like where you just have bad bosses, or you just have a bad work experience, and like, but you spend more time at work than you do at home. And it's just this frustration. And honestly, like I know from depending where I was working at the time, like I was extremely depressed, and it made my home life like just horrible. I was never checked in. I was never like present. And so it's like all these things. And it's like, when I'm thinking about like the branding of this business, it's like, what do I want this to like come off of? Like, how do I grow this in a way that I really want to be? And it's like, I decided like, I want it to be fun. Like I don't want the logo to be like, some initials, like, and generic that just kind of blends in with everybody else. I wanted to like, all right, if everyone's doing this, like what's the most extreme opposite of that? And that is a quirky, fun son that has nothing to do with striping whatsoever. But I didn't care. I wanted a mascot. That's what I knew. I wanted a mascot that kind of went with the Radiant Striping name. I knew I wanted that name. And partially only picked the name because I found the domain. I wanted to have a domain of the business. I didn't want a funky domain because I didn't want people to struggle finding me online. I remember that being a very big decision point of when I was doing all of this. So if you're listening to that, that's a thing to consider, that doesn't really get talked about as much though too, is that your domain. But I sidetrack, I digress. Yes, get used to the ums too. But we'll get better. We're going to keep working on our speaking. So yeah, that was part of the inspiration of starting it. I love, like when I was doing the trailer, I remember deciding how I'm going to do that. And a lot of people thought I was insane for not putting my phone number on there. But I thought, well, if everyone's doing that, then like when I was thinking about doing this, I went the complete opposite of what I just kept seeing other people do. It's like, we already got all this, let's do it this way. Because for one, when you're the solo owner operator, you get to do whatever you want. You don't have to listen to anybody. It's whatever you're willing to, whatever your imagination can come up with, whatever you're willing to to experiment with. That's what I love about this too, is I get to experiment. So like I could be completely wrong. There might be a reason why no one has a fun, funky, happy brand, parking lot striping company out there as much. And it's all like superior this or quality this. There might be a reason for that, but we don't know. I don't know until I start doing it. But what I do know is that I do get calls. People are receiving it pretty well. So I am happy about that. And I get to come up with these fun hats. I get to decide like, where do I kind of spend the money? Where do I want to do with it? And part of it was like, I want fun branded hats, just because to me, that's what I like. Like, if you're going to wear work clothes and outfits and stuff, like let's just make it fun, period. But still, again, though, with the coming back to the where do I go with this podcast, and then where do I go with like my time? Because if you've listened to this far, is that the time is so limited, and it's just choosing where do I want to invest my time, because if I could only do so much in the day. If I want to have the freedom to take care of my kids and be involved in their lives the way I want to be involved, I've done where I work, put my head down, and I just keep going along. And you make great money, but I was just miserable. So I know I don't want to become like overly worked in a way where if it doesn't make sense. I think that for me, the part of the selling point of having your own business is the freedom to do whatever you want. And the way I also look at it is, as long as our needs are being met right now, and we kind of live a little bit under our means, so we can enjoy other aspects of our life, like some small trips here and there. Again, supporting my daughter in her travel gymnastics and her competitive gymnastics, which isn't the cheapest activity, but I want to be able to provide that for her. I want to be involved in that. And thankfully right now, like striping, it does that for me, and it gives me back that freedom. So I'm not as depressed anymore as I once was when I was working for somebody else. So that is phenomenal. So for me, that's worth its weight in gold, even more so. I think my family around me would say this has been a great change. It's a scary change, that's for sure, because it's all on me. There's no one else paying my paychecks for me. I don't show up to a job and get paid automatically just for doing the job like I was before, or like maybe some of you are listening. So that there's that. When you have this own business, it's completely on you. There's no one really to tell you, hey Mario, it's time to go to work today. Because if you don't feel like going to work today, no one's going to punish you really for not showing up or not doing the things. So like, let's say you completed all your parking lot striping jobs for the week. You technically don't really have anything outside of that you have to like keep going and doing. So like, really, there's no one motivating you for that. And I just had to learn that one a little bit. And again, I have a mentor that's helping me with more of the like time management. Right now, I'd say the time management, thankfully, is not more so of me not doing much of things. It's just more of focusing on certain things that I find important, that I want to have in my life, and still be able to kind of keep the business going and growing a little bit. I will say it's definitely growing. It's not a fast growth, but for me, that's okay. For some other people, it probably drive them nuts. But like I said, if you live below your means, like the stress of not having a job, like 5 jobs a week, that it just doesn't happen. The one thing I've learned also though is to pivot a little bit and to find better paying jobs that take you less time to do. So that's where a shift has been in the last couple of months, is doing better performing jobs, and then they don't take as much time away as a bunch of like a lot of tiny jobs. Where before I was really focused on a lot of tiny jobs just because I would get home faster, but then I would do the same 5 jobs, where I was busy for a little bit, where I had like jobs like every single day in the busy season, is that there were just a bunch of small jobs versus where now I get a couple of like really good jobs. I could do one job that takes me all day to do. And then, but the dollar amount on that one will like be sometimes the same, if not more, than the 5 little jobs that I would do all week. And so therefore I'm taking less time to do that. But then I catch myself still wanting to do these small jobs because then I get to do these small jobs that take me like an hour or two, and then I'm done and I'm packed up, loaded, drop off the trailer, and I'm home. And I get to have my time back though too. So like I keep getting in this pull back and forth between, the type of jobs that I'm kind of focusing in on. So you're going to be, like I said, coming with me on this journey. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm just going to kind of just share my experience of the day to day. And if it helps someone, great. If it entertains someone, great. If not, this is really for me of a documentary style for me to kind of go back as I continue to grow this, especially since I'm still in a pretty beginning stage, but I will say at least certain things are more foundational at this point. So yeah, it's really going to be interesting to look back, like probably like 10 to 100 episodes from now and be like, for one, that was a cringe video, but we're doing the thing, right? So we're just going to do the things that make us a little nervous, like recording yourself speaking into this computer or whatever, and just having to imagine that there's someone on the other side of this audio that is going to be listening to this, and who knows how it's going to connect with them. But I love your feedback. I welcome you on this journey. This is where you sign off because I got to go pick up my daughters from school. And it's Halloween, and I'm going to go spend some time with my family. So, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and have a radiant day. Take care, everyone. Bye.